Juugo arrives on an artificial island known as the Special Student Zone, after being banished and disowned by his father, and is relieved to be free. When he arrives at his rented flat, he's surprised by Ryuugajou Nanana, a ghost who has taken up residence in Juugo's new room. Juugo performs some research on Nanana and even questions the landlady, Shikimaburo, about her time with Nanana before her death, after playing some games with her to decide who's the master of Juugo's room, and hurting his arm in the process. Nanana was formerly an explorer and a member of the Great Seven Club, and she even learns about Nanana's collection, a collection of extraordinary jewels strewn throughout the island. Back in his room, Juugo uncovers a hidden chamber in the bathtub holding a Kanju Kasumi pamphlet titled Nanana Manual. Kasumi left as a last resort in addition to presenting information on Nanana and the Adventure Club. Matsuri, a phantom thief gang, steals an item from one of the buildings late at night. Juugo observes a little parachute containing a small box and a transponder while returning from a convenience shop. While Juugo and Nanana return to his room, they discover the box contains a blue gem known as the Light-Up Lie Detector, which is part of Nanana's collection. Yukihime and Shu, members of the Matsuri gang, argue over the failed theft since the diamond is nowhere to be found. Tensai, a teenage investigator, examines the homicide site with her assistant Daraku the following morning and meets her top suspect, Juugo, in his room. In the course of her inquiry, Tensei looked at surveillance videos from convenience stores and even covertly unlocked Juugo's phone. Juugo hands up the box holding the diamond after viewing the evidence that he's a thief. Tensei was arrested the following morning and accused of stealing the diamond. Tensei and Daraku will soon move to Juugo's school. Isshin Yuiga, the head of the adventure group, invites Juugo to join his club after being enticed by Yu dressed as a maid. Nanana discloses to Juugo after Yuiga's encounter with Nanana that the murderer who killed her had a dragon mark on the back of her neck, and Juugo offers to assist her in finding the perpetrator. Yuiga puts Juugo, Tensei, and Daraku to the test the following day with a ruin. Tensei solves the ruin's problem, but all three pass and become formal members of the organization, despite Juugo's efforts to brute force the assignment with his strength and energy. Yuiga makes tea for the three using the collection item, the teapot that requires no leaves, which was initially found in the treasure chest of the test ruin. After playing one of Nanana's games, she provides Juugo a tip on where he can find an item from her collection, and the Adventurers Club finds the treasure at the Rising Building retail complex. Tensei can see through the mirror and uses forced perspective tactics to pinpoint the precise location of the trial. The three people charged with obtaining the object are Yuga, Juugo, and Tensei. When you go inside the chamber, equipment starts whirring and creating a labyrinth of tubes. They swiftly recognize the maze's danger and Juugo saves Tensei's life. They're able to reach the treasure box by combining Juugo's and Yuga's agility with Tensei's puzzle-solving abilities. Yuga betrays Tensei and Juugo after acquiring the wealth, leaving them stuck in the midst of the chamber. Juugo tells Tensei that he has summoned the cops to rescue them as they're having a moment atop the chest. Two police officers arrive to assist them and Juugo is detained for interrogation. It turns out the police officers are from Matsuri. Back at Juugo's, Nanana tells that Yuga received the wizard's cane, which gave the bearer any desire, while Tensei informs Juugo that she has located Yuga and plans to sell the cane to Ikaku Shunju, the Great Seven's leader. Kasumi leaves Nanana in a flashback admitting she witnessed her destiny in the future-revealing mirror. Juugo pairs up with Yukihime to reclaim the wizard's cane from Yuga, while Matsuri member Shu distracts Tensei. Juugo gives Yukihime the Light-Up Lie Detector diamond in return. Yuga hoped to rule Ikaku with the cane and become the island's most powerful man, but both parties battle and Juugo suffers serious injuries as a result of Yuga's cane spells, until the cane's power is abruptly deactivated. Juugo explains the cane's limitations and informs Yuga that he didn't consider the faults since he thought it was the most powerful item. Yuga was about to be hit by Juugo when his other helper, Kagetora, intervened. Yuga's troop is able to flee, only to be besieged by Tensei's army, who is acting as Ikaku's messenger. Yuga later meets with Juugo and apologizes for his actions. Juugo urges Yuga not to betray them again as he walks away. Juugo returns home to see Tensei waiting for him. Tensei was surprised to learn of Jugo's relationship with Matsuri when she installed the hacking program on his phone the first day she visited his room. She does not, however, report him to the authorities since she needs a competitor and chooses to dwell near his room. Jugo gets a call from his father after she departs and they talk about Jugo's selfish notion of not helping others despite his abilities. Jugo, enraged, retorts and hangs up. When he returns to his room, he admits that he handed Yukihime a fake. Nanana seemed to be okay with it, entrusting him with locating the murderer on her behalf. Yuga feeds the Adventure Club supper with proceeds from the Wizard's Cane's forced sale, and then advises that they all go on an overnight excursion to a local hot springs known to contain ruins. Nanana refuses to give Juugo another tip since it would take away from the joy of the quest. Yukihime makes contact with Juugo and they meet at the local cafe, where she tries to persuade him to return to Matsuri, but he refuses, and Yukihime cuts off communication. Juugo returns home to see Tensei, Daraku, and Shiki playing video games with Nanana. Shiki also sends Juugo the utility settlement, which boasts an astronomical electrical bill owing to Nanana's 24-hour gaming habit, and reminds him that he must pay the utilities by the end of the week or he would be ejected. Juugo discovers the Guild, which provides covert occupations to augment the island's modest part-time income. Juugo gets a lucrative delivery job in the Tsukiyomi district, where he meets Shu, who assists him in navigating the dangerous neighborhood to the drop-off spot. Juugo meets Tetsu, Yun, and Sister, the Three Skulls organization leader, there. Sister threatens Juugo but instructs Tetsu to escort him out of the base if a raid occurs. In the midst of the pandemonium, Juugo discovers that he was never paid for the delivery and is forced to sell Nanana's games in order to pay for his utility payment. When the Adventure Club arrives at the hot springs in town, Juugo vows to track down the area's specialty pudding in order to make up with Nanana for selling her games. Juugo meets Kagetora in the hot springs, who apologizes for the prior assault. Juugo notices Yukihime in the hotel, much to his astonishment, but she ignores him. Juugo, who claims to be a noisy snorer, asks for a separate room when everyone is given their rooms. Yuga discusses the floor plan of the abandoned home with the ruins over supper, since Kagetora has already verified that the unique key opens the entrance. Tensei is able to find the room of the ruins using just the floor plans, and the club agrees to meet in the local hotel lobby at 10 AM. Juugo meets Tensei and Daraku the following morning after learning from an employee that Yuga has already departed from the residence and has gotten a jump on the trial. The area turns out to be an agility problem, complete with locked stepping stones and a water trap below. Tensei is dubious to Jugo's rapid approach to the chamber, given that Kategora is still having difficulty despite his head start. Juugo opens the chest, which clears the area and exposes a plush cat within. The members of the club go to the hot springs to unwind after a long day at work, only to find that the security locker where the cat was kept is now vacant. They interrogate the hotel personnel and other visitors, but come to a halt with Juugo supporting Yukihime until Tensei presents proof that Shu pretended to be a maid in order to steal the item and hide it in the laundry. Tensei confronts Juugo on the train home, assuming he collaborated with the Matsuri couple to steal the Nanana's collection item and leaked the ruined site for money to pay for the utilities. Back in room 202, however, Nanana reveals that the stuffed cat is not part of her collection, and as a result, she locks Juugo out for selling the games. Nanana grudgingly forgives Juugo when he pledges to purchase more games, and the gourmet pudding Juugo shipped to the flat arrives. The genuine Nanana's collected treasure from the hot spring ruins, an exquisite golden steak, was also buried in the pudding box. Juugo opted to travel to the ruins at night to secure the treasure first, replacing it with the plush cat toy decoy, since Yukihime was also at the hot springs and may have overheard the Adventure Club's supper preparations. Tensei and Daraku come in the doorway, and Tensei promises Juugo that she will not reveal him despite overhearing the confession. After all, everything to gain an edge should be fair game when it comes to obtaining Nanana's collection. Later, Nanana counsels Juugo, who is still suffering from the fact that, despite the underground's unwritten laws, Yukihime attempted to take Juugo's collection item. Nanana consoles Juugo after seeing him weep at Yukihime's treachery and advises him to try to alter the situation before getting sad. Emboldened, Juugo approaches Yukihime and proposes a wager. If Yukihime wins, Juugo would give over the treasure from the hot springs. But if Juugo wins, Yukihime will repent for stealing. Yukihime thrashes Juugo, but Juugo snatches the collection treasure and bonds Yukihime with indestructible chains. Yukihime ultimately breaks down and angrily lashes out at Juugo for being selfish and abandoning Matsuri. Juugo frees her and chastises her for not being explicit about her desires and, as a result, betraying him. Juugo and Yukihime are able to settle their differences and reach an agreement. Yukihime meets with Shu at the foot of the tower, who has concerns if they should be cooperating with Juugo. Yukihime assigns Shu the duty of tracking down Sanada Fumika, an informant and founding member of the Adventure Club. When Juugo returns to his room, he wonders whether he wants Nanana to leave room 202. Juugo feels a weird presence monitoring him after an all-night gaming session with Nanana, Tensei, and Daraku. Back at school, a first-year student approaches Tensei and delivers her an envelope, despite her dissatisfaction and hasty exit from class. Tsujimi Tetsunoshin enrolls in Jugo's class, much to their astonishment. Yoon, whose real name is Yoshino Saki and who is a student at their school, also meets Jugo. Kagetora confronts Yuga about his lack of faith in the younger pupils at the adventure club. Later, on their balcony, Jugo and Nanana are surprised by Ikusaba Hyo, who has come to question Nanana about a collection item called the Rain Bell. He names it junk after knowing about its abilities, which upsets Nanana. Shiki, who is inebriated, pursues Ikusaba, while Jugo searches for her and some pudding to cheer Nanana up. After locating Shiki, Jugo inquires about Ikusuba, the former tenant of room 202, who had utterly disregarded Nanana, prompting Shiki to expel him. Jugo returns with the pudding to Nanana, and the two discuss the collection and Nanana's rules. Nanana follows her rules because she feels, quote, "there's no purpose in me being myself," if she doesn't. In bed, Jugo ponders why he wants to locate the collection on his own, and fears he'll end up like Ikusuba. Jugo, Tetsunoshin, and Saki travel to the arcade after school the following day, where they meet Ikusuba. Ikusuba also makes a visit to the school and Yuga, but he solely talks to Yuga with contempt because of his perceived flaws. Yuga assigns Kagetora the responsibility of tracking Ikusuba, accusing him of scheming against the adventure club, and instructs him to flee if detected. Yuga confronts Ikusuba for threatening the life of a fellow adventure club member in ruins in a flashback, but Ikusuba displays no remorse and insists that the quest for Nanana's collection is a competition with no rules. Jugo joins up with Yumeji, Tetsunoshin, and Saki for a fun outing at the Southridge Mall on the current day. They are tailed by Ikusuba, who is followed by Kagetora. Kagetora becomes preoccupied and loses sight of Ikusuba. He locates him, but Ikusuba vanishes into the shadows and returns right in front of him. Kagetora tries to flee, but Ikusuba manages to follow him down no matter where he goes. Ikusuba subdues Kagetora and transports him to the hospital. Saki and Tetsunoshin return to their rooms after their excursion to the Southern Mall, and go their own ways. Saki is stopped by Ikusuba on her way back and interrogated. Despite the fact that Saki has no recollection of anything, Tetsunoshin comes and fights off Ikusuba, who finds that they are members of the Three Skulls, implying that Kurosu Sansa is involved, which irritates Ikusuba. Tetsunoshin notifies Jugo of the incident the following day, as well as Sansa's intention to protect Saki from Ikusuba. Yuga tells Jugo about his background with Adventure Club and Ikusuba's brutal techniques when Jugo returns to the Adventure Club to inquire about Ikusuba. Yuga promises to assist Jugo if he tries to fight Ikusuba. Tensai and Doraku ultimately return to school, revealing that they were looking into a missing person case involving Yoshino Saki. She found that Saki was researching a building for a hidden job offered by Ikusuba when she vanished. To deter Ikusuba from pursuing Saki further, Adventure Club decides to remove the ruins Saki was studying. Yugo asks Nanana for a suggestion to help him find the ruins entrance faster, but he refuses to tell Nanana why he's in such a hurry. She gives in and delivers a clue in exchange for Yugo not using the collection treasure's power. The Adventure Club utilizes Nanana's tip to find multiple inscriptions and the entrance to the ruins in Southridge Mall, while Jugo sneaks into the security office and takes a unique electromagnetic key. Because the entryway is in a public area, they decide to clean it once the mall shuts. Doraku and the wounded Kagetora stand watch as Jugo, Tensei, Yuga, and Yu enter the ruins. Jugo tries to brute force the area, setting off many spike traps until Tensei gives the answer to the problem to discover the safe passage down, like he did in the prior trials. Jugo and Yuga discover a bleeding bag, causing Jugo to become concerned about the girls and shocking Tensei, who stumbles and falls. Tensei falls safely on a platform, but he's too shaken to continue. Jugo grabs her and runs for the rest of the way, oblivious to the traps he set up. Kagetora detects Ikusaba at the entrance and hides, enabling him to enter the ruins. Adventure Club finds the chest at the bottom, but they're stopped by Ikusaba before they can solve the puzzle lock. He confesses to employing Saki to test the ruins and vows that the Adventure Club members will not be allowed to leave since they are in his way. Jugo, Yu, and Yuga combat Ikusaba, but he dodges and strikes by weaving through the shadows with his shadow fin boots. Yuga also discovers that his mimic glasses are part of Nanana's collection, allowing him to imitate the techniques of anybody he observes. Tensei solves the problem and taunts Ikusaba throughout the battle. He hits her, but Tensei counters with a taser, gasping for air due to the pain and rendering Ikusuba's shadow fins useless. Jugo and Yu are able to turn the tides on Ikusaba by activating the mimic glass's hidden ability to read minds, forcing him to utilize his trump card. Ikusaba uses the Whisper of the Death God to shatter Jugo's right arm and collapse one of his lungs. Tensei intervenes by shooting a rubber bullet and proposing that everyone go individually. Ikusaba is informed by Tensei that she has deduced the strength of the sacred Nanana collection treasure. Tensei is able to persuade Ikusaba to leave Saki and not return. The whisper, it turns out, can only impose suggestions. Juugo's lungs and arms were never harmed, but the ring's power convinces the brain that they have, leading the body to feel anguish. Yuga speaks with Ikusaba before he departs, full of fresh determination to become the finest treasure hunter on the island. Tensei admits to Juugo that she was lying about knowing all the collection items' capabilities. In the end, the puzzle lock proved to only be cosmetic. Tensei admits that they battled with Ikusaba for the wealth, enabling Nanana to understand Juugo's reluctance and challenging Tensei to a bet. Tensei later encounters Juugo and gives him the collection treasure, stating that it may enable the owner to perceive previous occurrences. Juugo, tempted by the chance of finding Nanana's murderer, recalls his pledge to Nanana and declines the prize. Tensei confesses that she lied about the treasure's potency in order to persuade him to breach his commitment to Nanana, and that the treasure is known as the Evil Spirit Ward. Back at the flat, Juugo determines to discover precisely what Nanana desires and dares her to a new battle. Shiki, who is listening through the door, is awakened by their fight. Despite the fact that Nanana has subdued Juugo, he refuses to give up. Nanana is persuaded to give up and tell him what she really wanted by his determination. Despite her desire to discover and murder her assailant, Nanana feels that remaining will enable her to observe the world and Juugo for a little longer. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you in the next one.